Moving forward now, as expectations for the Copenhagen conference ebb and flow over the past number of weeks, today one Washington think tank says success will vary depending on each country's perspective going in and coming out of the meetings. The Center for Strategic and International Studies briefed policymakers on the expectations for the U.S. role in these international climate talks that begin on Monday. And Clean Sky's Dan Goldstein was there for the forum earlier today. And Dan, among the predictions for the U.S. we've heard over the last several weeks, everything from new momentum behind the effort to allegations of dishonesty involving Europe here.
Yeah, and Tyler, I think probably those are the two extremes, both wildly optimistic and extremely pessimistic. But I think you heard today from the Center for Strategic and International Studies analysts that it may come down to simply this, quote, managing disappointment, especially on the part of a lot of the European countries who are certainly hoping for the United States to make or take at least a bigger role when it comes to leading these climate negotiations. And the question, according to them, or at least the likelihood, is who's going to be best at managing their disappointment better than others, because keep in mind, we've got in 2012 the Kyoto Treaty runs out, and they want an agreement before, obviously, that treaty does expire, which the United States, of course, never signed. Now, the Center for Strategic and International Studies is a big player here in town. They have a good deal of analysis on what climate treaty might mean basically if or to national security, and we've heard a lot about the implications for U.S. policy and national security if global warming continues unchecked. But probably the key thing they know, and I think we all know, is that it's all going to be about President Barack Obama and his goals for climate change and his goals for negotiations. Earlier, there was a lot of criticism and some question whether he would attend, or he would not attend. Now that he will, there's still more criticism that he's only coming for the opening sessions and not the hardcore negotiation to occur in the final week. Obama's plan, of course, is 30% reduction from 2005 in 2025. You know, the concern obviously is that he might not even be able to get that, because considering, Tyler, that the House passed a bill that only required a 17% reduction in 2005. And of course, we know what the Europeans want. They want bigger targeted goals. They want emission cuts to be lower than those in 1990. They want to get emissions lower than that they were nearly 20 years ago. So the bottom line, Tyler, is basically President Obama is certainly heading to Copenhagen, but you heard a lot of the analysts say today that there may not be enough time to wrap up a lot of the things like the financing, which is critical to getting the support of developing countries so they can make these changes, and also whether he's going to be able to even make Europeans happy.
But I think what you saw for the last 2 years was kind of a waiting game, where negotiations really didn't get started until about 2 months ago, where there was a recognition that the negotiating parties, the main ones, especially the United States, China, India, to a certain extent, very reluctant to put any sort of targets or timetables on the table, and in fact, weren't really kind of showing their negotiating hand. So it became very clear about 2 months ago that there just wasn't enough time left, given the lack of progress that had been made in the previous year and a half, to be able to reach the kind of agreement that was expected in sort of the initial outset plan for this Copenhagen meeting. I think we're actually probably a lot closer to actually negotiating the context of this agreement than we've been in the last 2 years. But there's still going to be a really hard 2 weeks of negotiating ahead of us.
So you have this process of European leaders who have made this their #1 priority, they had hoped, as Sarah explained, the sort of the scenario, this wait nearly until November until we got this process moving. That was certainly not the scenario that European leaders had envisioned.
Now, Tyler, as you heard, essentially is Obama is going to be coming into a friendly audience, President Obama, that is, but there's going to be a lot of expectations for what he's going to be able to accomplish. Now, one of the things that certainly is likely, even though is going to dog him, is certainly, as we talked about, those University of East Anglia emails, which you mentioned with Rob Bradley. The consensus, though, on CSIS is that, again, like Rob Bradley said, it's not going to be the big issue, although certainly it's going to be on people's minds. And it's going to be a welcome break, I think, for the Obama administration, which, as you know, this week got a lot of heat, especially on Capitol Hill from Republicans in both the House and Senate on that topic. It certainly forced the Obama administration to respond, knock them off message a little bit. And the clear thing is even though it's not going to be a factor probably in Copenhagen, as we talked about, it's a much friendlier audience there, it is going to affect negotiations, or at least climate change bills here in the Senate, since he's got to still get a bill through the Senate. That's not going to occur, Tyler, probably until March of 2010. The probes against Phil Jones of the University of East Anglia will probably wrap up sometime then, so we'll still be back in the news. And obviously, that's going to be coming exactly when the administration is going to want a climate bill from the Senate. Tyler.
Perfect timing. All right, Dan Goldstein, thank you very much.